Welcome, everybody, and welcome to today's conversation, today's episode of The Reluctant Leader. I am Gajinda Bogle. I'm your host, and I am the Reluctant Leader. And I am joined today by Jessie from Phoenix Breathwork, who I actually met through her breathwork journey, which is really, really exciting. And I'm really excited to have today's conversation with you because we've normally talked about work or the sessions we've been involved in. And I'm really excited to delve deeper into your entrepreneurial journey. But before we do kick off, Jessie, did you want to introduce yourself to everybody who's listening today?
Yes, Bessie, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So as I said, I'm Jessie. I am a breathwork expert, wellbeing consultant and spiritual coach, and the founder of Phoenix Breathwork. And really, really excited to be here with you today.
Thank you, Jessie. Not as excited as I am. Now, one thing that always happens, and I need to tell this to everybody listening, one thing that always happens when I get a guest on, we join a little bit in advance and we end up going into conversation and we're like, we should record this conversation. And this was definitely one of those days with Jessie because, oh my God, there's so much that we can talk about. And we're going to try and keep our conversation really succinct, but really, really bear with us on this one. So yeah, I'm super, super excited, not only to have this conversation, but to share some of your magic with the world, really, and with everybody that's listening. So I actually got to experience Jessie's breathwork power only a few months ago, and it was honestly transformational for me. But Jessie, I really want to understand what made you go into breathwork.
Right? Now,
Yeah, like
this
I
is
know
the
we can all
story.
breathe, but yeah, do you want to explain a little bit about what breath work actually is? Because a lot of us, like me, think it's kind of just breathing, which we do anyway, but what is it exactly and what made you want to go into it?
Yeah, okay. So it's quite a story, but I never went looking for breath work. I had never heard it before. And
Wow.
I always say that breath work found me
Mm.
about 8 years ago. So my background's actually in the corporate world. I used to work within recruitment and HR for nearly 15 years. And I did that in a little bit in the UK, but mostly out in Australia because I was living out in Sydney. And then I moved back to London and I was headhunted to work for a global bank in their recruitment department, heading up private bank for Europe. And I knew 2 weeks into that job, it wasn't for me, but I stayed because it was ticking the boxes.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a prestigious job, but the money is great. I'm going to make it work because I don't fail at stuff. I don't want to leave stuff. I'm going to make it work. But 2 years in, it just wasn't working for me. The pressures of the job had got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I just wasn't coping with the stress that I was under. And it was starting to have that negative effect on me. So I was really experiencing what we recognize now as burnout. So I decided to leave Gajinda, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave and take some time for me. And during this time, I was like, okay, I want to get away somewhere, but I want to be doing something. So I found a project to work on in Brazil for 6 weeks and I moved out to Brazil. As you do, right?
As
Because
you do.
I was like, let me just go out to Brazil for a while because even though this job hadn't been, I knew it wasn't what I meant to be doing, but it had afforded me to be able to live a certain life. The money was good. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take some time out. I'm going to go live in Brazil for a while. And when I did that and I was working on this project, I started to actually live a life again. And I didn't realize I'd stopped doing this. I had become so dedicated to my work that that's all I was doing. Going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. And the hours that I was working were ridiculous. You know, I was that person that was in bed at midnight with my BlackBerry. This is how long ago it was, right? Sending emails at midnight and then back in work the next day. So I wasn't living life. And so when I took this time out in Brazil, I realized actually I don't need to go back into corporate and keep doing what I've been doing. I know that there's something else I'm meant to be doing. I want to work with people. That was always the best part of my job. So I started to explore other things to do and decided I'm going to train as a coach. So I took on a course to train as a coach, and it was an online program. And I thought, I could could do this anywhere in the world. So I'm going to stay in Brazil and do it. So I stayed in Brazil for the year doing this course.
Wow.
I know. I knew it was calling me. Have you ever had a feeling where something or somewhere is calling you? Like, I knew in my heart that I had to be in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was literally, I think, in a past life. I was, definitely had a life there. But when I was there and I started to do this coaching course, I started to reach out to other coaches in my network to understand, how do you work? What's it about? Build my network. And I connected with this lady who had just certified as a breathing coach. And I was like, huh? What do you mean a breathing coach? Exactly like you just said. It's like, I'm
We all
breathing.
breathe. We can all breathe. Why do we need a coach to breathe?
Exactly. And I was like, hang on a second. You teach people how to breathe. I was like, okay, tell me more. And so she was running a class, and I went along to this class, just like what you experienced, Gajinda, with me, right? And in this class, I missed the whole introduction because I was late for whatever reason. And so we get in the class, and it's a conscious connected breath work. So I'll talk more about the different types of breath work that's out there and what we can practice. This is a conscious connected breath work technique. And so we're doing this technique and we're making sound, we're using movement. There's a lot of things happening in the session. And I'm like, what is going on?
So not just breathing in and out.
No, right? It's not. And so I was like, I had no idea what was happening, but I went with it. And then at the end of the session, I connected with this deep sense of peace and stillness that I hadn't connected with in so long. And I was like, wow, I can feel like this just from breathing. Tell me more. And that's when I first experienced breath work. And that's what sparked my interest and my curiosity as to what was going on here and how I could feel like this just from breathing.
How incredible. What a powerful, powerful experience. So then what was the point where you thought, I'm going to turn it into a business?
Right?
Because
Because
there's
I was
something
like,
around, let me do this as a hobby and a practice for myself to make me feel better.
mhm,
But then it's a whole nother thing where you think, okay, I'm going to actually turn this into a business for myself now.
mhm, mhm.
What was
So
that point?
yeah, it's really interesting because I had no intention at all to like share this the way that I am now. For me, that sparked a curiosity, and I was like, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. How do I feel like this? And the more sessions I went to, I started to release emotions. I was like, why am I crying? But this feels so good. And then during sessions, I get like clarity on things, and it changed the way I was feeling. So I went along to a 6-day seminar, and on this 6-day seminar, you have 2 breathing sessions a day, and I had some incredible breakthroughs. And when I talk about breakthroughs, it's like clearing out all of the junk that you're carrying in your body, and the tension, the stress, the traumas, releasing all of this. And it was during that week that I was able to access and release a trauma that I'd had as a teenager when my dad passed away, right? And it's one of those things that at the time it happened, I was 16, and I dealt with it like in my conscious mind. And you deal with it in a cognitive way. Like, this is what's happened, get therapy, accept, move on with life. But what I hadn't realized is I'd stored it away in my body. And so I released this, and there was this huge emotional release. And I was like, whoa, this is what I need to be doing, because I felt like I had never felt before. It's almost like I often describe it as dropping back into my body, because I didn't realize I'd just been living in my head and like become disconnected from who I am. So when this happened, and I was like, I literally could feel my feet on the ground, and I felt so much clarity and so much connection to myself. And I was like, I have to share this. People need to have access to this. And that's the moment I decided to train in breath work. And so I continued my training in Brazil and Mexico and the US and the UK, and then landed back here in London. And I think it was like 2017 or 2018 I moved back. And sorry, I'm going on now, but just to tell you the story, to give you the background. And this is when I started to do breath work with people and tell everyone about breath work. And I used to get people saying, breathing coach. I was like, not breathing, no, breathing. Or breast coach. And I'm like, a breath coach? No, breathing. Because like no one had heard of it, right? It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I was starting to do this and really enjoying what I was doing. But it was during lockdown that I really decided to make it into a business. Because
Mm.
at this time, COVID, something that's actually attacking our respiratory system, it's impacting how we breathe. And I went through my own experience with COVID right at the start of lockdown. Now, this is before we knew what it was, before what was going on, and there was a lot of unknown out there. And people were waking up on ventilators or, in hospital, couldn't breathe. And so when I got COVID, I had all of the symptoms, the temperature, all of this, and I went to bed that night and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wake up on a ventilator. What's going to happen? This is it. And I was like, I had to snap myself out of it and go, Jess, pause, stop. It's like a strain of the flu virus, or, there's something going on in your body. Breathe, reset. You've got this. Let your body do its thing. And I did practice my breath work. And I woke up in the morning, temperature's gone, starting to feel better, and then was fine. And I was like, people need this, because with all the training and stuff that I've done, like, I was freaking out, and I was like, people need to have access to this. It can help so many people. And that's when I decided to launch it as a business.
Do you know what? It's so amazing. And I didn't know this, actually. And obviously we experienced breathwork together during an event. I came to actually one of your breathwork events only recently. And my dad actually did pass away in COVID, during COVID, with COVID. And it was at one of the peak times as well. And he actually had really bad respiratory problems, and ultimately he fought for his breath. Like, he couldn't breathe, something we all take for granted. And I remember, the experience we had together as well, and what you actually were able to facilitate for me was experiencing why I struggled so much with breath work. And the reason being was, it's because I held that trauma of my dad struggling for his breath. I held that within my body and actually within my breath, and why I was so disconnected with my breath. So 100%, I really feel that mission of yours now, of why it was so important for you to do the work that you're doing. And I had a transformational experience. I think I've already booked on to your next event as well, because it was so transformational. And how has that journey been for you? Like, I can see it already. Right now, breathwork is quite commonplace now, and people have understood, that word is around, people can see it. But back then, I'm going to pay you to teach me to breathe. What kind of challenges were you faced with?
Yes, it's so funny. Because trying to get people to come along, and they had no idea what to expect and to understand, like, so is that for people that have asthma or breathing problems? I'm like, no, breathwork is for everyone. So I know that I just mentioned that COVID was my trigger to launch it, because it supported me during that time and people needed access to it. But breathwork can help you in every aspect of your life. Don't realize how important it is for us to breathe well. And actually, none of us breathe well. We breathe to a third of our capacity. All of us have a dysfunctional breathing pattern, and we don't realize the impact it's having on us. So breathwork practice is literally just being conscious and aware of how you're breathing.
Shall we try it out?
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Do you want to show us how we should be breathing properly? Because right now I'm sitting here and I'm like, but I'm breathing through my nose, I'm breathing through my mouth, I might breathe out through my nose sometimes as well. Like, I'm breathing, I'm living, like,
yes,
I'm doing it right.
That's exactly it. But the first thing I would say is, don't overthink it, because you are breathing. It's something you don't have to think about. We're doing it all the time anyway. But when we start to pay attention to how that's making us feel, that's where the real magic is. Because our breath is directly connected to our emotions and how we're feeling. And it can also be directly reflected in how we show up in the world. So I actually read breathing patterns that tell me exactly what's going on with you. Yeah, it's the best party trick ever, honestly. Like, in workshops, I'm like,
now.
it's all right, I'm off duty right now. Don't worry, you're fine. But it's because it's directly reflecting how we show up in the world, is in how we're breathing. So just to describe, first of all, how we should be breathing, it's, using our diaphragm and fully engaging our diaphragm. So it is contracting fully. So then the belly expands out, and then the chest expands out, and then it releases. Because as the diaphragm contracts, it presses down on all our vital organs. So stomach, intestines, kidneys. So the stomach expands, so the belly expands out, and it pulls down on our lungs. So then our lungs can draw in air. So an ideal breath is through the nose as well. We should be breathing through our noses. And as we inhale, the diaphragm is contracting and the belly expands out because it's making room. And then as the lungs fill with air, the chest expands and then it releases. So it's almost like a wave of breath that comes in. So into the belly and into the chest.
And it
then
starts from the diaphragm, because I've just realized that my breath starts from my nose.
Yeah,
And
but
actually, when you've just flipped that, I'm like, oh my God, what a difference.
Well, let's do a quick check now, because everyone actually, the one thing is everyone has a completely individual and unique breathing pattern.
Okay.
Right? It's completely specific to each one of us.
I hope everybody appreciates that I'm being the guinea pig in this one.
Thank you. Good job there.
I'm exposing myself here.
I'm sure that so many people will be able to relate to that, though, what you're sharing. So thank you, because first of all, being aware of how we breathe is the most important thing. So let's just check in with that first of all, as to how we're breathing. Let's do a quick breath check. So just make sure you're sitting comfortably, and I'll invite everyone just to uncross their legs as well, so their feet are firmly on the floor. And if you've got back support, you can sit with your back nice and supported. And if you're comfortable wherever you are, I'll invite you to close your eyes down. You don't have to. But if you'd like to, what I invite you to do first of all is just bring your awareness and attention to your breath. Just notice your breath. Follow your breath in as you inhale and follow it out as you exhale. And just pay attention to what you notice. Notice the pace of your breath. How fast or how slow are you breathing? Notice the depth of your breath. How deep or how shallow are you breathing? Notice how it feels as you breathe. Notice where the breath is moving. Do you notice it more in the chest, more in the belly? Maybe it's about the same. What about the flow? Are you noticing your breath is flowing in and out gently like a wave? Or are you noticing maybe it's pausing a little bit? Maybe it's a little bit jagged. Maybe it feels a bit tight. That's okay. Just observe for the moment. And then notice what muscles you're using to breathe. If you notice the shoulders are moving, just allow them to relax. We don't need our shoulders. Just pay attention. Just notice your breath. Then I'm going to invite you, when you're ready, just to take a nice deep breath in through your nose, deep as you can. And then just release that from the body, gently sighing it out. Letting it go. And you feel free to do that again if you wish, gently in. Letting it go. That's it. And then whenever you're ready, you can start to bring your awareness back. If you did close down your eyes, just gently blinking those open, taking your time to come back, and just notice how that felt. What did you notice about your breath? And Krishinda, being the guinea pig, I'm going to invite you to share anything that you notice, anything you want to share.
Oh my God, that's probably changed the entire composition of my talk. But that really brought me back down to such a place of calm, like real calm. And I don't think I've ever given myself these 2 minutes just to focus on breathing. Like, I don't think I've ever given it outside of a breathwork session. So, yeah, it was incredible. And I think I've never really taken notice of how I breathe.
Yeah.
And I felt really good having had the opportunity to actually just regulate my breathing, because I did. even though I was just checking how I was breathing, I actually was regulating it as I was going along, because I was I was I breathe quite short breaths,
Mhm.
but actually during that practice I was able to just calm that down and have it a little bit longer.
Mhm. That's so beautiful and so powerful that you noticed you were doing that,
Mm.
because that we don't pay attention to our breath because we don't have to, right? We're breathing all the time anyway. But when we do, what we can notice can tell us everything we need to know. When we take those shorter, sharper breaths, it could be that we're trying to get something done
Yeah.
and we need that extra energy, because essentially every inhale is sympathetic, which is activating our fight or flight, and every exhale is parasympathetic, which is activating our rest and digest. So you can imagine, if we're breathing quite fast, the shorter, sharper breaths, we're really activating the fight or flight response in our body. And that's
Mm.
great if we need it. So, if you're trying to get some stuff done, if you've got to run for the bus, brilliant, right? But if we're stuck in that fight or flight response and we're sitting stationary because it's been triggered by maybe an email we've seen or a thought that we've had, then that's when we start to feel the negative effect of it, because our body is thinking we're in danger and we need to get out of here. So it's responding to that. And that's when our cortisol levels rise, adrenaline rises, blood pressure rises, because our body's preparing to run for our life or fight for our life. And so to be aware that this response is happening, if we can check in with our breathing and, just like you said, be able to regulate it, slow
Mm.
the breath, deepen the breath, we can activate and engage our parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to bring all those levels up here down immediately, so we can start to engage the rest and digest response. And that will enable us to have more focus, have more clarity, have more energy, and feel calmer, so we can show up in a different way. We can be more productive in a different way, and change our whole response to whatever's happening at that time just from changing our breathing.
I love that. And do you know, guys, what I experienced, I've got to put this into context a little bit. What I
Mhm.
experienced wasn't even breath work. What I experienced was my own breath and just
Mm.
monitoring my own breath. So for that 2 minutes, I was just monitoring my own breath. So I haven't, or you haven't even gone into any techniques or anything yet. So
Mm.
if anyone was trying this as they were listening to it, what you just experienced was just you monitoring how you breathe
Yeah.
and no techniques yet. So if you can have any kind of a transformation in those 2 minutes, imagine what could happen in a longer and deeper session. And Jessie, what are some of these transformations that you have been able to facilitate, that you have been able to witness doing the work that you do? Because I'm
Oh,
sure it must be so powerful.
so powerful. It's the only reason I keep doing what I'm doing.
Mm.
Honestly, to see my clients go through transformations, it is unbelievable. And sometimes people don't even know why they're coming to see me. They're just like, no, they've been called to try breath work. Maybe it's been suggested or recommended to them, and they can come just feeling maybe like they're anxious and stressed all the time. And so we will work together to release that stress, manage the anxiety, and often we will get to the root cause of what it is, because sometimes there's an underlying reason that's causing all of this. And it can be that an emotional build up, or the emotional baggage that we carry. It could be a trauma, it could be anything. And it allows people to heal, to open, to start living their lives. Because when we carry things on such an unconscious level that we don't know is there, we don't realize that it's running in the background, impacting everything we
Mm.
do, decisions that we make, how we show up, how we interact with the world. And this is what my experience was. I didn't realize that actually 20 years of my life was played out by a trauma response.
Mm.
I look at it now and I'm like, that's why I went to university furthest away from home. That's why I moved to Australia furthest away from home. That was my pattern. I was running away. I was living a very destructive lifestyle, but I thought I was just having fun and adventure. And when I was able to integrate that and release it, I was able to be grounded and show up as myself and make decisions from clarity, make decisions from, a clear place, rather than be responsive. I mean, reactive. It was being responsive to things. So with clients, it's helped them to heal past trauma, but also move forward in life, have relationships, heal relationships with loved ones where they've had conflicts. Some people I know have left relationships that they've needed to and started a new life. Yeah. So it's like, it's not what they expected, but they knew that they were in a relationship that wasn't working for them. So it gave them the courage to leave that and start living their life. People have changed the course of their life. And this is why my podcast series is about interviewing breath workers who have had the most powerful experience, that it's changed their life enough to train in breath work to keep sharing it, because the experiences they've had are so profound. And it's just,
What happened to you?
yes. So
Yeah.
you asking that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
what happened to you as well?
Yeah, 100%. So it can help us day to day, perform better at work, have a better relationship with our family and our children. It can help us to, start to connect with our joy again, because, like, again, that's what I experienced when I was working in my last corporate job. I was literally just existing. I wasn't interacting with life. Even I remember my sister coming over with the kids, and I'm like, it was a weekend. I'm like, I have to work. I was on my laptop. I can't play with the kids. Da, 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 da. I'm like,
Yeah.
how could I not play with my nieces? Like, my job is not like life or death. What am I doing? But I'd forgotten how to live life again. And so to see my clients start to bring back the joy and do things that they love and have fun, it's like, that's what I'm like, this is what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be enjoying life, living life, and having experience. And then we can create stuff that we want to experience. And this is where I love some of my clients I work with are so incredible, that they're launching new businesses, they're tapping into, they're making their hobbies new careers and things like that, because they've finally got the belief in themselves that they can do it.
I
And it's like,
love
okay,
that.
yeah.
And you're living proof that you can do that and be successful. And I do have this, does bring on a question. So one of the things, obviously, is it fair to say that you didn't dream of being a business owner? That was never part of the path. So a reluctant leader in your own right as well. So you didn't dream, but you got this passion. You found this passion and you found this magic that you did turn into a business. How was that transition of turning your passion into a business? Because as a fellow entrepreneur, I understand that what we do as a business is only a small part of the business building journey. So, how did you balance up your passion for breath work plus all the nuances that come with running a business, such as the admin, the social media, the selling, the marketing, and everything else that comes with it? How was that for you in your journey?
Wow. Because
Thank God
honestly,
for breath work, hey?
oh goodness. Well, yeah, absolutely. But that has been a real dance for me, a real challenge. And I have resisted completely all along the way. So I love that this is called the reluctant leader, because it's like, okay, I'm going to put this out there. And like when I did that in COVID, I put out an online course and the uptake was incredible. And I still get feedback from that now. It's still running, but people are like, that changed my life. And I was like, okay, good, I've done that now. And I'm like, okay, that's done. But then people wanted more. And I'm like, oh, what do you want now? So then I did another course and it's like, okay, that's cool. Now what should I do? It's like, I wasn't ready to keep going with it. I was like, okay, I've done this. And I've had to really make myself think of it as a business, because I didn't. I was like, okay, I'm providing service. I'm giving this to people. I want to share this because people need access to this. It's changing their lives. Amazing. And I've had to do that whole look at my pricing as well, because there's been this whole thing within me. Like, I think it happens across the healing industry. Like a lot of people well, everywhere. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be charging for this. It's energy work. And, I shouldn't be charging this and And I'm like, no, it has to be a fair energy exchange. And I have to value what I'm doing. And I've had to work through all of that as well to think that this is a real service. It is a business. And then pull myself out and work on it as a business rather than in my business, because that's what I've been doing. And like you said, doing the social media, doing this and doing that. And I'm like, that is not my forte.
I just breathe.
Right? I'm all about creation and delivery. Put me in front of camera, a group of people, breathe, excellent, create content, deliver it, brilliant. The strategy, all the other stuff, and I'm like, ooh, not my forte at all. So I've had to really lean into that and look at where I need to get outside support and work through my own resistance to like actually putting myself out there and having a business. So yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I have started connecting a lot more with people around me to know that, you know,
You're not
that they've
alone.
got, and you're not alone. And that's been a big thing as well. A big
Yeah.
thing, because
Because we
there's not
always
been,
think that we're the only ones not doing everything we're supposed to be doing, and we think everybody else is doing everything. But actually, as soon as we connect with other people, we realize we're all just in the same boat, that there is no right or wrong way of doing things. You've just got to find your own way of doing things. And do you know what? I'm really glad you did actually bring this point up about when we do healing work or energy work or any of this type of work, which is of a service. And I get it too sometimes because I do marketing and people, people are like, well, why don't you just do it for free? Like, why are you charging people? You're helping business owners. And I think sometimes because we are women of color as well. And I think part of our upbringing is around this word called seva, which
yeah,
translates to charity work. So you do things for free. And we embody that because our culture and our community, we do that growing up. So we have temples that give out free food and, they provide shelter and all of this kind of stuff. And that's the epitome of seva, where they don't get paid to do it, but they will do it for the community. And I think sometimes we feel we have to do the same, right? And how have you navigated that? And in a way that if anybody is watching us, it can, and they're in that situation as well, where they are a service provider, but they're torn between that charitable service provider and the one that actually charges for their services. How did you navigate those challenges?
yeah, great question. Thank you for bringing this up and sharing that. Um, so what I would find myself doing is just wanting to help people. And when they said, oh, I can't afford it or this or something, I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. But one thing I noticed is that sometimes it did not sit right with me. It did not feel good. And so this is one thing the breathwork practices also helped me to strengthen is know myself, know my feelings, and check in with what feels right and trust that feeling and that intuition, because we all know. So I would tell myself, okay, it's got to feel good for me, because especially if it is energetic work and healing work, if I'm out of alignment and this doesn't feel good, this connection, it's not going to work, right? And what I'm doing, nothing is going to work. So I've had to check in with myself and trust that and put it out there. And it's okay if it's not for everyone, but there are other people out there that I can direct them to. So when I was specifically working as part of our training program, when we're interns, we don't charge for sessions because it's part of our case studies. So I would give free sessions. And so once I was qualified, if I ever had clients that couldn't afford me, couldn't work, I would just direct them to interns. I said, look, they're in training. You can have sessions with them. It's helping them get a session, and you get breath work where you don't have to pay.
Love
So I
that.
started to do that. And then also I still wanted to do my seva, and it's like, so I would reach out where I could. So I would do free stuff. During COVID, I did so many free sessions online. I did in my Facebook group and workshops and stuff, because I just wanted people to have access to it. And then connected with a charity that was specifically supporting the NHS staff. So NHS staff could book in for free sessions with me through that. So to balance out what I was doing, I was like, I have my business, what I'm doing. I have an avenue for people that can't afford what I'm doing, but I want them to be able to have access to this. I now also have my YouTube and podcasts and blogs and stuff they can also access. But then I was doing charity work or working with a charity. So then that's me also giving back in some way. So then I feel like that, always checking in with how that feels for me. And I'm like, okay, good. I can make some money, and I'm, being, what's the word? Not rewarded. Yeah, like the energy exchange for what I'm doing is there. So that feels good. But I'm still giving back where it's needed. And that feels good. So always
I love
doing
that.
that.
And I just want to add to this as well, because I've actually been doing a training on this with some of my real soul-based business owner clients that really struggle with this. So I just want to share this at this point as well, that the reason why an energy exchange is really important, because part of our magic is the way we feel. So if we're stressing about our mortgage payments, if we're stressing about our rent payments, our bills, if we're stressing about our needs being met, we can't share our magic. So the energy exchange that sometimes is asked for is just for basic needs being met so that we can do our job and deliver more of our gifts to the world. And sometimes that magic, that the needs being met might include travel, because it rains here 70% of the time, and if I need a bit of sunshine to then recharge my batteries, to come back stronger, I'm going to put that cost of that travel into what I require as my needs being met. It's part of that joy, part of that happiness. So it's really, really important to understand what you need to be met so that you can do the job that you need to do. And I've found the happier I am, the more joyful I am, the more satisfied I am, and the more I keep my well-being up to date, all of that kind of stuff, I can hold space for even more people, which
Yes.
is amazing. So that is why an energy exchange is really, really important. And people like, some of the greats of the world, like Mahatma Gandhi, um, all of these amazing people that we look up to, all their needs were met. And that's why they could just do everything that they were doing with their energy exchange. So for me, that's why that's really important as well. So I just wanted to share that at this point. So never, ever think you have to give everything away from free, because what free will do is deplete you and it will take away from you. And what you want to do is, where you're giving for free, you want to make sure you're receiving as well at the same time. So it's replenishing whatever you're losing through giving for free.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. Thank you for framing it that way, because I've never framed it in that way. But it's being able to take what I tell myself is having that guilt-free time for me. If I need to go off and recharge and, take time where I'm not working or whatever it is, it's like that. I need that. That is part of me being able to
Yeah,
function.
you need that,
Yeah,
but your bills still need to be paid in that time.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the last thing you want to do is stress about how that's going to happen. You want to stress about how you can share more with the world once you're refreshed and recharged and doing everything that you're
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah, I heard someone once say, it's like, make sure your cup is so full it's overflowing, so you've got so
Yeah.
much more to give, right? So fill
And
your
you're actually
cup up.
giving from the overflow, so that
Yeah.
your cup is always full. You're just giving from that overflow
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. Now, we're going to take a little bit of a turn because I'm
Okay.
conscious of the time that we have, but I do need to talk about this because you mentioned it. And you're going to be like, what did I mention? And
I
no,
am.
it wasn't mentioned here. It was mentioned somewhere else. But you mentioned Big Brother somewhere. How does Big Brother come up in your life as a breath work practitioner? How does it happen?
Oh my word. Oh my word. Like, when you said earlier, you never thought you'd be a business person. I always saw myself on TV, Gujinda. I'm not going to lie.
Did
It's
you
like,
really?
yeah,
I love that.
I am
Big
always,
Brother.
honestly, I was like, TV is my thing. It still might be. Watch this
Do
space.
you know
Who knows?
Maths Australia?
Yeah. Oh, maybe. So Big Brother. So this is when I was at university, and I was working. I think, where was I working? In H&M or something at the time. And my friends came in to see me at the end of the day, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to go to the Newcastle auditions of Big Brother." And I'm like, "No way, wait for me. I'm just about to finish. I want to come with you." And so we went along, and it was the last group of people to go in for the auditions. And I don't know, like, do you want to know about the whole thing?
Yes,
Like,
please.
so they take a group of 20 people in at a time, right? So there's 20 of us in a room. They tell us to do stuff and see who's going to be up for doing it, I guess, on camera. They're filming everything, and they break us into little groups, and they say, right, okay, in each of your groups, you have to say who's going to leave and why you think they should leave. And no one's allowed to say, I'll go because I don't want to be here. And each group's got their own camera crew. And so in my group, someone's like, I'll go because I don't want to be here. And I'm like, and everyone's like, okay. And I was the only one who said, no, that's exactly what they told us not to do. So I think you should go because whatever it was. And the cameras were like, oh my God, they love she's really cheeky. She says what she wants. And I ended up going through all of the final stages. And it was similar stuff like that, speaking to the camera, seeing what you would talk about. And all of my friends had gone at this point. None of them made it through the first stage. So they've gone off and left me. And the last stage of this, they sit you in this imitation diary room and they say, right, you now have 1 minute to tell Big Brother why you want to be in the house. And I sat there and I was like, I don't actually want to be in the house. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? I've just come with my friends for a laugh. So I sat there and I think I just went, I think it'll be a great experience. I don't even know what I said for a minute. And then I came out and they're like, thank you, but you didn't make it through to the last stage. And I was like, that's fine. So off I went home and I was like, I don't know, even if I had been offered it, that if I ever would have gone on to Big Brother, because I feel like that was a year they had like Nadia and all these like really people, like they like conflict, right? People that are going to,
of course, they're like big personalities that are going to cause controversy and
yes. So yeah, that was a little cheeky story. That
oh my God, how fun. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love it. And what a story. What an absolute story. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, I love it. I love it. But the TV thing's still there in the background. So you can watch this space. I've done like Bollywood extra work and stuff like that. That's the most exciting thing. But
the reason why Maths Australia came up for me and the reason why Big Brother, and this is quite funny because there's actually a medium that is on Maths Australia. And it's quite funny because obviously we're all quite connected in that universe. So I can really understand her eccentricities and all of this kind of stuff when she's getting downloads, like while she's doing her vows, all of this stuff, like we get it. And everyone else is there going, she better not come near me. She better not sit near me. I don't want her near me. And it's like, oh, this is what some people are like. And I probably was that person once upon a time as well. But yeah, it's really funny how when, we're in a community space where we are like-minded, we are full of soulful business owners that really get what each other does. And sometimes we forget that there's a big wide world out there that doesn't actually understand what we do. And is there any, because we are going to finish off the conversation now, is there any advice that you would offer out to people that are potentially embarking on this journey that they've been called to, just like you have in some of your experiences, and they might be feeling a bit of that challenge of what are people going to say? What are people going to think? How can I, a woman of color, tell people that, yes, I used to be a lawyer, but now I teach people how to breathe? Like, how do you navigate all of that stuff? And what advice would you give anyone out there going through something similar?
Great question. Trust yourself. Take the first step, one step at a time. Like, even if you can't see the full outcome, just take one step at a time in the direction you want to go in. Reach out, get support, find like-minded people, find people who have done it before, because there will be people that have done it before. Connect with them because they will help you, guide you, or you will get inspiration. And just remember what it is that you can give. There is no one out there like you. And, I say this to everyone all the time, even though I'm trained in a particular type of breath work, there's so many breath workers out there now. No one can do what I do the way that I do it. No one has my energy. No one shows up like I do. No one speaks like I do. And it's the same for you. No one sees the world through your eyes. So whatever you have to give, the world needs that. So you just got to do it in your own way. And I love what you say about like being in our bubble and not knowing, what's out there and people that may not get it. So I made a conscious decision a while back to connect with those people, or not connect, but just to follow them. So on my socials,
the ones who don't get it or the ones who do?
Ones who don't as well, because I'm like, and the people that are so different from me, because I tell you when this started is Brexit, because I was like, I had no idea that would be the outcome because I live in a certain bubble. So I was like, I need to connect with these other people that think differently to me, because it's important that I don't just remain in this bubble. So I'm really conscious of that now. If there's someone who has an opposing opinion to me or does something differently, I want to know about you, because I want to make sure that I can appreciate the differences in the world and there's space for everyone to do what they want. And I don't need to worry about that because there's billions of people in the world. So if you're looking to try and start something, you're like, no one's going to get it, no one's going to get it. I'm like, I guarantee you there'll be a million people somewhere that will want to do that. There's billions of
Yes.
people in the world,
Yeah.
right? So
And
just,
it's about finding your people, right?
yeah,
Find
yeah.
your people. You don't have to find everybody, just find your people. And I think you're
Mhm.
right, because I knew about breath work for years. I've known about it all the time. And I even know people that do breath work, but I didn't
Mhm.
connect with anyone until I met you. And it's taken me a long time, even in my entrepreneurial journey, about 6 years, to actually attend a breathwork session,
Mm.
which was one that you done. So I 100% agree. It's the people that you kind of connect with, and it's important to find those people.
And also for them to find you. So you have to put yourself
Mm.
out there for them to find you, right?
Yeah,
Shine your light bright. I always love that meme that I've seen. It's like, shine your weird light bright so the other weirdos can find you. I'm like, just whatever your light is, that will attract your people in, right?
100%. If you heard our conversation before we went live, you'd be like, what are these two weirdos
Like,
talking
I'm
about?
finding everything else.
It's like all the woo.
I
I
just
love.
wanted to add as well. I know that we haven't actually got to the different types of breath work. So you saying that you know people that do breath work and other breath work out there. So do your research, you'll know who you're connected with, but there are different ways to practice breath work. So there's breath work you can do day to day, just breathing exercises you can practice throughout the day that will help you to feel calm and manage your day-to-day anxiety. There's more functional breath work that you can do that can help to improve sports performance. There's hypoxia training, different types of, the mouth taping, different type of breath work, and also the conscious connected breath work, which is what I teach. And we get deeper into integrating all the juicy good stuff, and it can be completely transformational.
Oh, I love that. I didn't even know that. I did not even know that. And I've been following you for ages. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Jessie, if anybody wanted to find out more, if anybody wanted to connect with you further and just see where this goes, how is it best for them to reach out to you?
So my website, jessielaute.com, all my information's on there. Socials, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, my Facebook. I've had to start a new account because I lost it, but I have got a presence on Facebook. And I have a podcast, Phoenix Breathwork, Breathe to Rise. So you can check that out, and YouTube. So I'm all over the place. You can find me at any one of those. But even if you've got a question or a bit curious, drop me a message. I'm always happy to chat.
Oh, amazing. And I think that's a key word, right? Even if you're a little bit curious, I would start your journey by at least following Jessie and getting curious. Allow your curiosity to really take shape, because you just never know where it will lead. And that's how I started my journey with you and how we became a lot more connected. Jessie, one of the things I was really interested in was your events, your in-person events, which
Mhm.
obviously I find transformational. I've been to one already. I'm already booked onto the next one. Are these on your website? Where would people find information for your in-person events if they did want to come and experience the power of breath work for themselves?
Yes. So if you head to my website under the events and retreats tab, it lists all of my events on there. I have a monthly breathing workshop in Richmond, which is usually the last Sunday of every month. So that's my regular 2-hour class. And then I do day retreats and collaborations. And I am organizing a 5-day retreat for August in Portugal. So details will be up very soon for that. So you can just check it out. If you can't find any info, again, drop me a message. I'm usually quite good on my DMs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I haven't even told Jessie I was going to do this, but you're hearing it here first. Jessie is actually going to be a guest expert at my next big event in June. So I am so excited. As soon as I experienced the breath work with Jessie, I was like, Jessie, you have to
Mm.
share this with the room full of women that I'm going to have at the event. So if anyone's coming to the June event, Jessie is going to be there providing her transformational breathwork experience to you guys. So it's going to be incredible. And I can't wait. I cannot
Can't
wait.
wait. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I am so
Amazing.
excited as well. So I better start sharing this now publicly, seeing as it's coming out. But Jessie, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much for not only bringing your gift to the world, but also the courage that you bring as well to actually be more visible and get this out to more and more people, because obviously the easy thing is always just experience it for yourself and carry on with your own life. But you, as a reluctant leader, are going through all the trials and tribulations that entrepreneurship brings to just allow more and more people to experience this. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much. Thank you for being an amazing guest. And I can't wait to experience more breathwork with you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
You are so welcome. And thank you for everyone that's listened and for everyone that has watched. And do reach out to Jessie if it calls to you, if you're even that little bit curious. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.